I was married for just over 5 years. To everyone on the outside, and even to me on the inside, our marriage seemed good, stable, loving. I trusted my wife completely. She was my best friend, the person I confided in about everything, the one I thought I would grow old with. When she told me she was pregnant, it felt like the final piece of the puzzle falling into place. I can't describe the joy I felt at that moment. We'd been talking about kids for a while, but hearing it was actually happening filled me with this mix of pride, excitement, and maybe even a little fear. I started working extra hours, saving more aggressively, painting the nursery, and buying little onesies and toys. Every night before bed, I'd place my hand on her stomach, feeling for kicks, whispering about how much I couldn't wait to meet our baby. My friends envied me. My family adored her. We were that couple everyone pointed to as an example of how marriage should be. I honestly thought I had it all. But sometimes, life has a cruel way of reminding you just how wrong you can be. The first crack in the perfect picture was subtle. One night, when she was about 7 months pregnant, she made a slip while we were talking about dates. She mentioned something about when she thought she conceived, and it didn't quite line up with the timeline she had originally told me. At first, I brushed it off. I didn't want to be that guy who questions his pregnant wife. But the thought stuck with me. Then, a few weeks later, I noticed she seemed overly protective of her phone. She used to leave it lying around, no problem, but now she carried it everywhere, even into the bathroom. She brushed it off as pregnancy brain when I asked, but I couldn't shake the feeling. The seed of doubt was planted, and once it's there, it grows. The baby was born, and for the first few days, I was on cloud 9. Holding that tiny life in my arms, I felt a love so overwhelming it was almost painful. But at the same time, I couldn't help but notice something. The baby didn't look like me at all. I told myself I was being paranoid, that newborns look weird and change quickly, that I was just exhausted. Still, the doubt gnawed at me. A friend of mine, someone who knew more than he let on, finally pulled me aside and asked me if I was sure the baby was mine. He said he didn't want to stir the pot, but he'd seen my wife with someone else a while back, and it didn't sit right with him. That was the breaking point. I decided I needed answers. Behind her back, I ordered a paternity test. I told myself it was just to calm my own anxiety, that it would prove me wrong, and I could finally move forward and put the doubts to rest. When the results came back, my world collapsed. 0% chance I was the father. 0. I confronted her with the papers in my hand, my voice shaking, my entire body numb. At first, she denied it, said the test had to be wrong, that I was overreacting, that I was just stressed. But when I pressed, when I showed her the evidence, when I told her about the timelines not adding up, her face crumbled. That's when she admitted it. During a rough patch in our marriage, a rough patch I wasn't even aware we were in, she had an affair with a coworker. She claimed it was just once, that it didn't mean anything, that she regretted it instantly. But that didn't matter. What mattered was that she betrayed me in the most intimate, irreversible way. And now the proof of that betrayal was right there, in a crib, in the nursery I had painted, wearing the little onesies I had proudly bought. It wasn't just about the affair. It was about the fact that she let me believe the child was mine. She let me dream, plan, love, and bond with a baby that was never biologically mine. The gut punch was unbearable. I don't think I've ever felt so many emotions all at once. Rage, heartbreak, humiliation, numbness. I wanted to scream. I wanted to cry. I wanted to smash everything in sight. But mostly, I wanted to disappear. I knew one thing for certain: I couldn't stay. I couldn't raise another man's child while being lied to every single day of my life. I couldn't look at her without feeling like I was drowning in betrayal. So that's what I did. I left. I didn't tell her where I was going. I didn't tell my family. I didn't tell my friends. I just vanished. Packed a bag, grabbed some cash, and drove until I couldn't drive anymore. To a lot of people, that probably sounds cowardly. Maybe it was. But in that moment, survival was the only thing on my mind. Staying would have killed me inside. That was years ago. I rebuilt my life from scratch in a different city, under a different routine. I cut all ties with her, with that chapter of my life, and I told myself I'd never look back. But now, out of nowhere, the past has found me again. I won't go into too much detail yet, but recently I was contacted by someone connected to all of this. After years of silence, they reached out, and it's forcing me to face the very thing I've spent so long running from. And honestly, I don't know if I'm ready. It's been a few days since I posted about vanishing after finding out my wife's baby wasn't mine. I wasn't expecting so many responses, and I'll admit, I've read through every comment, every bit of advice, every perspective. Some of you called me a coward for leaving. Others said I did what I needed to do to survive. Truth is, both are probably right. But what matters now is that my past has caught up with me in a way I never prepared for. I guess it's time I explain what happened. It's been almost 8 years since I left. 8 years of no contact, no updates, no birthdays, no holidays. I built a new life in another city. New job, new apartment, even new friends who had no idea what happened to me before I arrived in their lives. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I could breathe. I never remarried. I've dated, sure, but nothing ever got too serious. I think part of me was afraid of being lied to again, afraid of giving my heart away only to have it crushed. So I kept things light, safe, controlled. Then, out of nowhere, it happened. I was sitting at home after work, scrolling absent-mindedly through emails when I saw a message in my inbox. No subject line, just a name in the sender field that made my stomach drop. It was her, my ex-wife. My hand literally shook when I clicked it open. The message was short, just a few lines. They want to see you. Please, I know you probably hate me, but at least think about it. You don't owe me anything, but they deserve the truth. They, not I, not me, not even our child, just they. I didn't respond that night, or the next, but I couldn't stop thinking about it. Was she talking about the child, the one I left behind? Did they even know I existed? What has she told them all these years? A few days later, my curiosity got the better of me. Against my better judgment, I typed her name into social media. And there they were. A child, 8 years old now, smiling in pictures, holding trophies from school, wearing birthday hats. And the captions, "So proud of you, my strong little one." I stared at those pictures for hours, and the more I looked, the more conflicted I felt. Because while I could see traces of someone else in that child's face, I also saw something else, something I didn't expect. I saw a kid who looked happy, who looked like they'd been loved. And yet, part of me wondered, did they think I was their father? That question ate at me until I finally caved. I replied to her email. Just one line. "What did you tell them about me?" She responded almost immediately. "That you're their dad, that you loved them, but work took you away. Please, don't be angry. I didn't know how else to explain it when you left." That hit me like a freight train. She let that child grow up believing I was their father. She built an entire narrative around me, a man who vanished. And now, here they were, old enough to ask questions, and she was running out of lies. I didn't know whether to scream or cry. Eventually, after a week of sleepless nights and endless what-ifs, I agreed to meet her. We picked a neutral spot, a quiet little coffee shop halfway between our cities. When I saw her for the first time in nearly a decade, I barely recognized her. She looked older, worn down, like life hadn't been kind to her. There were faint lines etched into her face. Her smile wasn't as bright, and her eyes had lost the spark I remembered. We sat across from each other, silence stretching until she finally spoke. "I'm sorry." That was the first thing out of her mouth. No excuses, no deflections, just that. She said she regretted everything, that she never stopped loving me, that the affair was the worst mistake of her life. I sat there, listening, but my chest felt like it was made of stone. Part of me wanted to believe her. Another part of me wanted to get up and walk out all over again. She told me the man she cheated with, her coworker, disappeared not long after I left. He wanted nothing to do with her or the child. She raised them alone. She said she tried to move on, but every time the child asked about their father, she couldn't bring herself to tell the truth. Then came the plea. "They want to meet you. They think you're their dad. Please, even if you hate me, don't punish them for my mistakes. They deserve to know you." I don't think I've ever felt so torn in my life. On one hand, every word she spoke reignited the anger I thought I'd buried years ago. The betrayal, the lies, the humiliation, it all came flooding back. Sitting across from her, I could still see the woman who shattered me. But then there was the child, innocent, unknowing. They hadn't asked for any of this. They didn't choose how they were conceived or what lies they were told. And the idea of a kid growing up thinking their father abandoned them, it made my chest ache in a way I didn't expect. She showed me a picture from her phone, the child holding a drawing they'd made in school, stick figures labeled me and Dad. And even though the drawing wasn't of me, I felt something twist inside me. That's when the war inside me started. Part of me wanted to reject it all, to protect the fragile peace I'd built over the last 8 years, to remind myself that I owed them nothing. But another part of me, the part that once dreamed of fatherhood, couldn't shake the thought, maybe this kid deserved better than silence. I haven't made any decisions yet. I didn't agree to meet the child, not yet. I told her I needed time. She nodded, said she understood, and left me with her number. Since then, it's all I've thought about. I look at the life I built, quiet, simple, detached, and I wonder if I can open that door again without destroying everything I've worked for. I wonder if I can separate the sins of the mother from the innocence of the child. And I wonder if I can ever look that kid in the eye and not feel the sting of betrayal all over again. So here I am, stuck between two impossible choices. Do I protect myself and stay gone forever, knowing that a child out there believes I'm their father and has questions I could answer? Or do I step into their life, even just a little, and risk reopening wounds I worked so hard to close? I don't know if I can forgive her, but the child doesn't deserve to pay for her mother's choices. I'm torn. What should I do?
A rush into a decision because I knew whatever I chose would affect more than just me. I read through a lot of your comments, and while opinions were split, one common theme stood out. I need to prioritize my peace. So I made my decision. I met with my ex-wife one final time. This time I wasn't shaky or nervous. I wasn't drowned in the chaos of my emotions. I was calm, detached, almost like I'd rehearsed the words 1,000 times in my head, which, in a way, I had. She started with apologies again, saying she wished she could undo everything. But I stopped her. I told her I'd listened long enough. Now it was my turn. I reminded her of what she did, not to rub it in her face, but because I needed her to understand that her actions had consequences that stretched far beyond her. I told her how her lies destroyed not just our marriage, but the very foundation of trust I had in people. I told her how I had to rebuild my entire life from ashes because she couldn't be honest about one night of betrayal. She cried. She tried to justify it as a mistake, but I didn't let her. I told her a mistake is forgetting to buy milk, not conceiving a child with another man and letting me believe it was mine. Most importantly, I told her the truth she didn't want to hear. We are never getting back together. Not now, not ever. The love I had for you is gone. The trust is gone. Whatever bond we had died the day I opened that envelope with the DNA test. I don't hate you, but I don't love you either. You're just someone I used to know. Her face crumpled when I said that, but it needed to be said. This was the hardest part. She begged me again to meet the child. She said they look forward to it, that they've asked questions about me for years, that they even made drawings and letters. And a part of me, maybe the part of me that once dreamed of being a dad, ached at that thought. But I also knew something else. That child may believe I'm their father, but I'm not. I can't step into their life and pretend. I can't build a relationship on a lie, no matter how innocent they are in all of this. It wouldn't be fair to them, and it wouldn't be fair to me. So I made my choice. I told her that I wouldn't be taking on the role of a father, that it wasn't my responsibility, and trying to force it would only hurt the child more in the long run. But I also said I wasn't heartless. I told her I'd be willing to have limited contact, letters, maybe cards on birthdays, so the child knows they were thought of. But I wouldn't be dad. I wouldn't show up at parent-teacher conferences or birthdays. I wouldn't build a false identity for them to cling to. Most importantly, I asked her to tell them the truth. Maybe not all at once, maybe gently, but sooner rather than later. They deserve honesty, even if it's painful. Her reaction was mixed. Relief, because at least I didn't slam the door shut completely, but also sadness, because she wanted me to fill the void left by the man who abandoned them. That's not my role, though. It never was. Walking out of that meeting, I felt lighter than I have in years. Not because it was easy. It wasn't. It ripped open old scars I thought had healed. But because for the first time, I wasn't running. I wasn't vanishing. I was facing it head on and choosing my future. Vanishing years ago was painful, but it saved me. It gave me space to rebuild myself, to discover who I was outside of the wreckage she left behind. I learned boundaries. I learned the value of self-respect. And I learned that sometimes walking away isn't weakness. It's survival. I won't lie. Part of me still aches. Sometimes I wonder what life would have been like if that child had been mine. Sometimes I picture a version of myself tossing a ball in the yard or teaching him how to ride a bike. But that's all it is. Imagination, not reality. Reality is where I live now. And in my reality, I'm no longer chained to her lies. I've started dating someone new in the last year. She's kind, honest, and most importantly, transparent. She knows about my past, and instead of judging me, she listens. She respects the walls I've built, but she's also patient enough to help me lower them brick by brick. I don't know where it will go, but it feels healthy. It feels right. So, what happens now? My ex-wife will have to raise her child with the truth. I'll send the occasional card, maybe a gift, but that's where my involvement ends. I won't step back into that world because I've already lived the destruction it caused once. I told her as we parted ways, that chapter of my life is closed. My future is mine to write. And I meant it. She looked at me with tears in her eyes, but I walked away without looking back. Her betrayal broke me, but disappearing saved me.